Goeienaand. Good evening, fellow South Africans, from a balmy Brisbane. And this is a shout out to Norma. Thank you very much, Norma, for the email and this very, very interesting set of statistics, which I'll just read out here because they're very important. Now, this statement is by Juju Mkhize, SRC president of the University of Cape Town. He's a top black African academic. And the title of his document is called The Shocking Truth About Racism. And he starts off with this comment. How the hell can we believe you, Mr. President? And then he quotes President Jacob Zuma as saying, South Africans are psychologically sick as a result of the violence inflicted upon the majority of the country's people during the Apartheid era. And we've heard that argument so many times, haven't we? You know, this is why the black Africans are doing what they're doing, because of the violence that they had to face under the Apartheid era. Well, let's look at the facts, okay? And these are the facts that have been compiled by this top black African academic. Okay. I'll start reading now. I've had my little rant. This lie, Jacob Zuma's statement that I just read, is getting really old. The history of black South Africans has always been that of violence, death and destruction, not inflicted upon them by white people in this country. Shaka Zulu, during his 10-year reign, butchered more than 2 million black people in South Africa, not counting the deaths during mass tribal migrations to escape his armies. He had his warriors clubbed to death upon the merest sign of weakness. He neither took a legal wife nor fathered a son, for fear that his heir would plot against him, and had his concubines executed if he discovered they were pregnant. When his mother died, he massacred thousands of his subjects so their families would mourn along with him. Shaka retained his throne throughout the worst kind of sheer terror, vast mass executions, torture, and mindless butchery. His brother, Dingaan, was no better. He took power after the assassination of Shaka and started his reign by butchering those loyal to Shaka. That, amongst many other horror stories of black-on-black violence, is a history of black South Africa. During the apartheid years, it was not better. Factional fighting and tribal conflict was again the main cause of violence and death amongst black South Africans. And again, that is black-on-black violence. Faction fighting is black-on-black violence. During the apartheid era, from 1948 to 1994, the average life expectancy of black South Africans had risen to 64 years, on par with Europe's average life expectancy. Infant death rates had by then been reduced from 174 to 55 infants per thousand, higher than Europe's, but considerably lower than the rest of the African continents. The African population in South Africa increased by 50% as a result. Deaths due to political violence during apartheid, and this is the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, 21,000 people died in political violence in South Africa during the apartheid era, of whom 14,000 died during the transition process from 1990 to 1994. In other words, only 7,000 people died for political reasons in the rest of the apartheid era. This includes South African Defence Force actions, for instance, the 600 deaths at Kasinga in Angola during the war in 1978. Of those deaths, the vast majority, 92%, have been primarily due to Africans killing Africans, such as the intertribal battles for territory. 92% of black-on-black violence during the apartheid era. During the period June 1990 to July 1993, a total of 8,580, or 92%, of the 9,325 violent deaths during the period June 1990 to July 1993, I'm sorry, he repeats that, were caused by Africans killing Africans, black on black murders. 92% were black on black murders. Or as the news media often calls it, black on black violence. And these were hostile killings, Inkatha Freedom Party versus ANC killings, and taxi and turf war violence. The security forces caused 518 deaths, 5.6% throughout this entire period. During the transformation period, the primary cause of deaths were not security forces, not right-wing violence against blacks, but due to black-on-black necklace murders, tribal conflicts between the ANC, IFP, bombs by the ANC, and PAC's military wing in shopping centres, landmines on farm roads, etc. In this country today, under black rule, as many as 18,000 people are murdered every year. And those are the official statistics. More than 400,000 people have been murdered in South Africa under ANC rule. The past 20 years have been the most violent in the history of this country since the death of Shaka Zulu. In this country today, under black rule, so 18,000 people have been murdered every year. And none of this has got anything to do with white people or apartheid. But I guess if you repeat the lie often enough, foreigners actually start believing the drivel that comes from your mouth, Mr. Uneducated President. Unfortunately, people from all over the world would believe your lies, and you have spread and wrongly blamed the whites for racism. It's actually called xenophobia. It's black tribe against black tribe, and there was a reference there to factional fighting, and I know a bit about factional fighting because I used to live in the little town of Greytown, and my mother was the mayor's assistant in this town, and she used to come home just about every night during the Christmas period when the Zulus went back to their villages in the Chigala River, and she would say, there was another faction fight last night. Because what happens with the faction fight is that one village of Zulus who've got a complaint against another village of Zulus, the men get up and they take their pangas and they take their clubs and they literally wipe out every single person in that other village. The men, women and children are just slaughtered. You know, they come in by surprise and just kill a lot of them. That's black on black violence. I've always made this point. The Bantu and the Nguni people, it's in their nature to be violent. You can see that. I mean, these statistics prove it anyway. And the whites are just an unfortunate casualty to this violence. And the whole world has got it wrong when they suggest that the whites are the ones who really oppressed the blacks. I reckon under the apartheid era, the blacks had a far better chance of living to an older age, like they did to 64, as mentioned in these stats. I bet it's a lot less today. It's probably around about 40 years old. And not only that, you've now got something like 90% of the black African population having AIDS. 90%. Isn't that extraordinary? I mean, yeah, okay. The stats speak for themselves. I'll have a rant about other things some other time, but this is really important information because it clears the truth about black on black violence being the primary cause of murders in South Africa. And unfortunately, black on white murders are now climbing considerably as well. And a lot of those are done in very, very, very violent ways. All right, guys, thank you once again, Norma, for the information. Please remember to subscribe to be kept informed and have a great evening. Take care. Bye for now.